For centuries, archaeologists and historians believed that the people who lived before us were simply primitive. They invented fire accidentally, lived in caves, hunted animals with stones, and slowly learned how to survive in a brutal world. At least, that's what we thought. But history, as we've learned, is not a complete and clear story. And today, we're going to prove it to you. So be sure to stay till the end, because today, we'll be looking at the 15 archaeological discoveries that still confuse experts, make no sense, and challenge our understanding of human history itself. Number 15. The Tassili mushroom figure. The Sahara Desert was not always endless sand and silence, as we see it today. Thousands of years ago, parts of the region held rivers, wildlife, and human communities that covered stone walls with strange artwork. Inside Algeria's Tassili and Egyptian plateau, there is one figure that stands apart from everything around it. The image appears to show a human like being surrounded by mushrooms growing from its body and hands. Archaeologists believe the artwork dates back to the Neolithic era, making it one of the oldest possible depictions of hallucinogenic mushroom use ever discovered. Researchers think the figure may represent a shaman entering an altered spiritual state during a ritual ceremony. The pose feels unnatural, almost dreamlike, as if the artist wanted to capture transformation rather than reality itself. Rock art across Tassili already carries an eerie atmosphere, but this image feels especially disturbing because of how modern the interpretation sounds. Long before written religion, long before recorded history, humans may already have been experimenting with substances capable of changing perception, consciousness, and perhaps their understanding of existence itself. It still confuses experts. Number 14. Ancient Egyptian dark rituals. Egypt never really stopped surprising people. Every few years, archaeologists find something that sounds more like a horror story than ancient pharaonic history. Here, experts have discovered severed hands arranged with care inside pits. Mummies with golden tongues, so they could supposedly speak in the afterlife. Sacred baboons wrapped like royalty. Lost pyramids buried beneath desert sand for centuries. Ancient Egyptians believed death was not an ending but a transition into another existence, and nearly every ritual reflected that belief. Warriors once presented the severed right hands of enemies as proof of victory. Wealthy people, like King Tut, were buried with jewelry, statues, and objects they believed they would need beyond death. In fact, even animals carried spiritual meaning. Cats, bulls, crocs, and dogs were tied to powerful deities and often mummified with otherworldly perfection. Some tombs remained sealed for over 4,000 years before modern archaeologists opened them again. So, now, the question that disturbs the mind is, did they actually know what happened after death? Well, it's a mystery. Number 13. The Obsidian Mirror of Dee. In 1582, inside a dim chamber in Mortlake, John Dee sat before a polished black mirror made from volcanic obsidian taken from Mexico decades earlier. To most people, it looked like nothing more than dark glass. But to Dee, it was a tool for communication. Alongside Edward Kelly, he spent years conducting sessions where Kelly stared into the mirror under candlelight while recording visions, symbols, and voices claiming to come from angelic intelligences. Detailed journals survive describing conversations carried out through what became known as the Enochian language. The unsettling part is the structure of that language itself. It was not meaningless fragments or some kind of random sounds. It carried grammar, syntax, and consistency across years of sessions. Modern psychology explains that prolonged fixation on reflective black surfaces can trigger altered perception and dissociation. Obsidian absorbs light in a way that creates visual depth instead of normal reflection. Maybe the mirror only exposed the subconscious mind. But the surviving records still show something deeply difficult to explain. Number 12. The disturbing giants of Tula. Across the ancient ruins of Tula in Mexico, there are 4 massive stone figures that still stand watching the horizon exactly where they were placed centuries ago. Known as the Atlantes de Tula, these towering warrior statues once rested above a sacred pyramid built by the Toltec civilization. Their size alone feels intimidating, but the real mystery begins when historians try explaining why they were built in the first place. Each figure rises over 15 feet tall and carries detailed carvings of weapons, armor, and ceremonial objects across its body. Some researchers believe the statues represented elite Toltec warriors guarding the city from invaders. Others think they held spiritual meaning tied to forgotten rituals. The Toltecs themselves remain surrounded by uncertainty because much of their history vanished after their civilization collapsed during the 12th century. Later, the Aztecs treated Tula almost like a sacred place and viewed the Toltecs with deep respect. Whatever these stone giants once symbolized, their creators carried the knowledge into history's shadows when their empire disappeared. Number 11. The Muysca calendar. The Muysca civilization of Colombia built a calendar system so complicated that historians still struggle piecing together exactly how it worked. Before the Spanish conquest nearly erased their culture, the Muysca tracked time using overlapping cycles connected to religion, agriculture, and astronomy. Their understanding of celestial movement appears far more advanced than outsiders once assumed. Instead of following a single yearly structure, the Muysca organized life around many different calendars operating simultaneously. One measured ordinary years, another focused on farming seasons. A third, far more mysterious sacred cycle lasted 37 months, though nobody fully understands why. The number 20 held special meaning within their culture because it matched the total number of fingers and toes on the human body. That symbolism shaped much of their mathematics and timekeeping. Fragments of the calendar survive through carved stones, ceremonial objects, and archaeological sites scattered across Colombia. Unfortunately, Spanish destruction wiped away countless records that might have explained the deeper meaning behind these ancient systems. Number 10. The SB sword. In 1825, on the isolated Norwegian island of SB, a farmer digging through an ancient burial mound found a Viking sword twisted and damaged by centuries underground. At first, it seemed like another forgotten weapon buried beside a dead warrior. Then, scholars noticed faint runic markings etched along the blade itself. Those symbols would later attract the attention of the SS Ahnenerbe, the Nazi research organization obsessed with uncovering evidence of ancient Germanic supremacy. The sword measured roughly 3 feet long and carried inscriptions no one could fully agree on. Some researchers believed the runes formed ritual phrases connected to lost priesthoods. Others argued they encoded names or invocations tied to Norse cosmology. The uncertainty only increased its value to Nazi ideologues searching for ancestral legitimacy. During the occupation of Norway, the artifact underwent detailed analysis involving rune comparison charts, magnification studies, and metallurgical testing. Later, records connected to the sword became fragmented and incomplete. Missing photographs and vanished reports only deepened the mystery surrounding what experts may have believed the blade truly represented. Number 9. Slipperner of Gantofta. Along a sandstone outcrop near Gantofta in Sweden, strange grooves cut across the rock face in long, smooth lines. For decades, people assumed these markings were nothing more than scratches left behind by sharpening knives or axes. That explanation sounded simple enough until experts started examining the grooves more closely. The cuts curve inward with unusual consistency, almost as though they were created through repeated swinging or rotating motions rather than ordinary sharpening. Some archaeologists now believe the carvings may have carried ritual or ceremonial significance instead of serving any practical purpose. Their location only deepens the mystery. The grooves overlook the Aar River Valley, an area once inhabited by the pitted ware culture thousands of years ago. Nobody can prove whether those ancient people created the markings, but the timing remains possible. Local folklore surrounding the stones has only grown stronger over time. Some visitors claim they can see faces hidden within the rock surface itself. That is probably only pareidolia. but still, no one can explain much about it. Number 8. The Bayeux Tapestry. After German forces entered France in 1940, SS-controlled cultural units turned their attention toward one of Europe's most famous historical artifacts, the Bayeux Tapestry. Stretching more than 200 feet long, the embroidered cloth recorded the Norman conquest of England through scenes of warships, cavalry, kings, and divine signs. To most historians, it represented medieval storytelling. To Nazi ideologues, it became something far more useful. Because the Normans descended partly from Viking settlers, the tapestry was treated as visual proof of ancient Germanic expansion across Europe. Teams connected to the Ahnenerbe studied it with astonishing precision, photographing stitching patterns, pigments, symbols, and heraldic details under restricted supervision. As Allied forces advanced through France, plans emerged to transport the tapestry into Germany before the occupation collapsed. That transfer never happened. The artifact remained in France, narrowly escaping disappearance into hidden Nazi repositories. What matters is not simply that the regime studied the tapestry, it is the intensity behind the effort. The Nazis treated it like strategic evidence capable of reinforcing an entire racial mythology. Number 7. Mount Laura and the Dame de Mali face. At the highest peak of Mount Laura in Guinea, a giant stone face appears to emerge directly from the mountain itself. From certain angles, the resemblance becomes difficult to ignore. A forehead, nose, lips, and the shape of a resting chin can be seen staring silently across the valleys below. Locals call the formation the Dame de Mali, treating it almost like a guardian watching over the surrounding landscape. Scientists explain the face as nothing more than erosion slowly shaping the rock across hundreds of thousands of years. Wind, rain, and temperature changes can create strange natural patterns, and technically, that answer makes sense. Yet people standing beneath the formation often leave unconvinced. The proportions feel unusually human. The placement feels deliberate. Some residents believe ancient hands may have carved the figure long ago, before knowledge of its creators disappeared into history. Whether natural or artificial, the face has become one of the region's most haunting landmarks. Number 6. The Duenos inscription. Ancient languages usually surrender their secrets eventually. The Duenos inscription never really did. Carved onto a small set of connected ceramic vessels discovered near Rome in the 19th century, the inscription represents one of the oldest known examples of written Latin ever found. That alone should make it historically priceless. Instead, it became one of archaeology's most frustrating puzzles. The writing dates back nearly 2,700 years, yet scholars still cannot agree on what it actually says. Part of the problem comes from the way the text was written. Early Latin lacked spacing between words, turning the inscription into a continuous stream of letters with barely any punctuation or separation. Some characters are also damaged or unclear, making interpretation even harder. Over 50 different translations have been proposed during the past century, and many contradict each other completely. Some researchers think the text may describe a legal agreement. Others believe it carries a ritual or romantic meaning. For now, the tiny artifact remains strangely silent, despite carrying one of humanity's earliest voices. Number 5. The Kaimanawa Wall. Hidden deep inside the forests near Lake Top in New Zealand stands a rock formation that has divided researchers, historians, and locals for decades. At first sight, the Kaimanawa Wall looks impossible to dismiss as natural. Massive rectangular blocks appear stacked beside one another with sharp edges and straight dividing lines running between them. The structure looks like ancient stonework seen in places like Peru or Easter Island, far more than random geology. Supporters of the human-made theory argue that the wall points toward a forgotten civilization existing in New Zealand long before the arrival of the Maori. Others insist the formation is nothing more than ignimbrite rock fractured naturally as it cooled thousands of years ago. Scientists officially support the natural explanation, yet many people remain unconvinced because the symmetry looks almost deliberate. The debate carries cultural tension as well, since proving human construction could challenge parts of established New Zealand history. For now, the wall remains trapped between archaeology and geology, accepted fully by neither side. Number 4. The sarcophagus of Yaroslav the Wise. Inside St. Sophia Cathedral in Kiev rests one of the most important royal tombs in Eastern European history. The massive marble sarcophagus belongs to Yaroslav the Wise, the powerful ruler who helped shape medieval Kievan Rus and established one of the region's earliest great libraries. The tomb itself survived invasions, destruction, fires, and centuries of political chaos. Oddly enough, the body did not. At some point during the turmoil of the Second World War, Yaroslav's remains disappeared. Nobody knows who removed them or where they ended up afterward. Some theories suggest Nazi forces stole the remains during the occupation. Others believe religious groups secretly moved them while fleeing the war. No evidence ever solved the mystery. The cathedral around the sarcophagus also carries scars of survival. Mongol invasions, attacks, and reconstruction projects repeatedly damaged the structure across centuries, yet the stone tomb somehow remained standing through all of it. Today, you can still see this empty sarcophagus. Number 3. Zvartnots Cathedral. This cathedral should not have survived as long as it did. That is the part many people overlook. The structure stood in one of the world's most violent earthquake zones, yet its massive circular design remained standing for 3 centuries before finally collapsing. Medieval architecture was never supposed to handle weight this way. Instead of relying on thick exterior walls, the huge dome rested on a delicate internal system of arches and pillars that looked dangerously fragile even by later engineering standards. The entire design feels centuries ahead of its era. Walking through the ruins today still feels strange because the geometry looks more experimental than medieval. Giant eagle capitals stare down from shattered columns while the broken arches hint at calculations most societies of that period should not have understood. Historians call it an ambitious failure inspired by Byzantine influence. But surviving hundreds of years of constant seismic activity suggests something far more sophisticated was happening beneath the stone. Number 2. The Codex Aesinas. During the final years of World War II, SS officers arrived at an isolated estate in Italy, searching for a fragile medieval manuscript known as the Codex Aesinas. Inside its aging parchment pages survived one of the only important copies of Germania, the Roman text describing ancient Germanic tribes written by Tacitus nearly 2,000 years earlier. To ordinary scholars, the manuscript carried historical value. To Heinrich Himmler and the SS, it represented ideological ammunition. Germania described northern tribes as disciplined, resilient, and uncorrupted by Roman decadence. Exactly the qualities Nazi propaganda wanted connected to modern Aryan identity. The manuscript was placed under SS protection while researchers photographed, analyzed, and reproduced its contents under restricted conditions. Detailed linguistic studies examined not only the text itself, but its usefulness in reinforcing racial mythology. As Germany collapsed, many wartime records tied to the manuscript disappeared or became fragmented. The codex eventually resurfaced in Italy largely intact, but the deeper extent of Nazi research surrounding it remains unclear. That uncertainty matters because the regime never viewed the manuscript as passive history. They treated it as a blueprint for identity itself. Number 1. Tatev Monastery and the Gavazan Pillar. Tatev Monastery sits beside enormous cliffs where earthquakes have destroyed buildings for centuries. But one structure there keeps surviving when it should have fallen long ago. The Gavazan pillar stands nearly 8 meters tall and somehow moves during seismic activity without snapping apart. That is the part nobody casually explains away. Massive stone is not supposed to sway and recover its balance over and over for 1,000 years. The base was engineered with incredible precision, allowing the column to react to vibrations moving through the earth. Historical accounts even claim the pillar responded to approaching armies before they appeared near the monastery. Skeptics call it practical engineering created through generations of experimentation. But the deeper problem never goes away. A structure like this leaves almost no room for error. Miscalculate the weight distribution slightly, and the entire thing collapses. Instead, it survived earthquakes that destroyed surrounding buildings. That level of balance feels far too deliberate to dismiss as simple trial and error. Well, that's all from us. Hope you found this video interesting. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.